Surprise!
It begins with a guy pretending to be a blind pianist named Akash, who is playing his piano and is greeted by his cat. He steps out to begin his day, but trips over a trap his neighbor kid set up for him. Then he goes to meet a man who tells him he got some more piano students for him to teach. He says he doesn't want any more students as an Ani he teaches touches him weirdly. The man tells him to bear a little as she's his ticket to London, but he says he can't and he needs to concentrate on a song he's stuck on for a competition that is coming up in 2 months. Akash, a struggling musician, is seen pretending to be blind in front of people, though he can actually see. Pramod Sinha, a wealthy former film star, is checking the amazing comments on his YouTube. His wife Simi is cooking. Pramod is speaking to his daughter, Danny, who calls her Ani when she speaks to Simi. She's not happy with that. And after their call, she tells Pramod she can at least call her Simi if she doesn't want to call her mom, as they have been married for 3 years. But he says she's just a kid. Pramod then films Simi cooking and says she should have her own show, so she tells him to ask his film industry friends if they can help her out. As Akash is crossing the road, he meets with a small accident by Sophie, who's driving a bike. She feels very bad that she hit a blind person, so she takes him out to eat where she gets to know that he's a pianist. She then takes him to her dad's restaurant, who employs him to play there. As Sophie is dropping him home, she asks him how he became blind. He tells her that his optic nerve got damaged when a cricket ball hit his head when he was 14. Sophie says she'll pick him up in the evening and leaves. He gets home and removes his lens that make him seem blind. One day, he doesn't put his lens as he goes to meet Sophie and a bird shits on his shades. She takes his shades to clean them and tells him his eyes look very normal and asks if he's really fully blind. He says he can sense light. As he plays at Franco, Sophie's dad's restaurant, he impresses everyone around him, especially Pramod Sinha. Sophie drops him home. Sophie and Akash start going out. One day, as Akash is playing at the restaurant, Akash receives an invitation from Pramod Sinha to perform a private concert at his place for his wife for their anniversary. Akash agrees to perform. Pramod gives him an advance of cash and leaves. As Pramod Sinha watches TV, he tells Simi that he has to go out of town the next day as there's some important business. She asks him how can he go when it's their anniversary, but he says he'll be back in the evening. As Sophie drops him home that day, they get wet in the rain, so she goes to his house and asks for a shirt to change into. Then both sip on some wine. Sophie finds his eye mask. She wears it. One thing leads to another, and they end up sleeping with each other. Akash goes to Pramod's house and his wife. Simi is confused as to why he's there. Akash tells her that Pramod called him there for a surprise private concert for her for their anniversary. The neighbor peeps from her door, and Simi invites him in, and he starts playing. Simi praises his skill, but as he is playing, he sees a body in a pool of blood on the floor. He asks her if he can use her washroom. She hesitates, but agrees. As she's walking him to the washroom, Akash sees Pramod's dead body on the floor with flowers and gifts. In the washroom, he sees a man hiding with a gun, but he doesn't react, does his business, and gets back to playing the piano as they clean the mess. Akash, who has been pretending to be blind, is now a crucial witness to a crime. Just before Akash could get there, Pramod had walked into Simi cheating with the man. They put his body into a luggage bag and take his watch and ring out. Then Simi pretends Pramod has arrived and uses an audio recording she has of him to show Akash. The man leaves with the luggage bag with his body. Simi weeps as Akash plays on. As Akash gets out of there, he heads to a police station to report the murder. But as he is going to narrate the event, the man who was Simi's accomplice is there. He's a police officer named Pandey and starts questioning Akash. To save himself, Akash lies that he has come there to report the death of his cat, who the neighbor boy killed. Officer Pandey tells Akash to take him to his house to search the cat. Pandey is stopped by his wife, Rushmi, who he lies to saying he's on an important case. At Akash's house, Pandey tries to check if he's really blind, but doesn't get any substantial proof. Simi comes to the restaurant Akash plays at and leaves after waiting there. Sophie notices that Akash is being weird as he leaves without telling her. The news reports that former actor Pramod was shot dead near the river in his car. His wife claims that he left to do a real estate deal with $10 million in cash that day, but didn't return. Akash plays at Pramod's funeral. When Simi's giving the eulogy, she mentions Pramod arranged a private concert for her, spoke to Akash, said he'll be back soon, and left. Their old neighbor, Mrs. Dissa, tells a cop that Simi is lying in the eulogy, and that there was a third man who was like a bodybuilder who got there before Akash and Pramod. The cop goes to ask Simi about it, and she lies, saying that it was a pizza delivery guy. Pandey is at his house when his fellow officer tells him that they have been getting many calls with tips about the murder. One caller blamed Pandey for the murder. The officer tells Pandey what Mrs. Dissa told him. Rashmi tells him to go to Mrs. Dissa and get a sketch made. Pandey says he'll do it himself. Pramod's watch is found by a guy in a urinal, and he gets framed for the murder. The watch is given to Simi and Danny, who is Pramod's daughter, and Danny recognizes it. Simi tells Danny to go out to get her something, and she goes to Mrs. Dissa's house. Simi lures her and pushes her down the apartment. Akash sees all that as he is in the elevator. Simi sees him too, but he pretends like he's seen nothing. Soon the building is filled with people gathered around Mrs. Dissa's body, and cops start an investigation. But Pandey helps them conclude that she slipped because there was water in the balcony. Akash comforts Danny. When Akash reaches home, the kid downstairs slyly records a video of him acting like a normal person instead of being blind in his home. Simi goes to Akash's house, taking food from the funeral rituals. He asks her if she wants coffee. She agrees, and Simi mixes poison in his glass. Seeing that Akash drops the glass, and Simi pulls out a gun on him. Shocked, Akash confesses he's not blind, but it is a fake gun. Simi asks him who knows about his fake blindness. He says no one does. Akash chokes and realizes that the food which she gave him initially was poisoned. He faints. Sophie comes to meet Akash, but the neighbor kid shows her a video he recorded of Akash acting like a normal-sighted person. She goes to his room, and Simi opens the door, seeming naked. Sophie barges into his room and sees him naked and unconscious on the bed. She tells Simi she just got to know that he isn't blind, and tells Simi to tell him that he doesn't need to continue his job at the restaurant. When Akash wakes up, he realizes that he's actually lost his sight. He asks Simi what she's done to him and threatens to expose her, but she tells him no one will believe him. Simi meets the boy downstairs, deletes the video, and leaves. Akash calls Sophie, but she fires him and cuts the call. Helpless, he cries. Simi tells Pandey that she made Akash blind. He panics and says that she should have killed him instead, so she tells him to do it. Pandey goes to Akash's house and tries to hang him, but he hits Pandey with an iron, frees himself, and runs on the street. Pandey doesn't get to him. An auto rickshaw guy and a lady help him and take him to the hospital. There he asks the doctor to help cure his blindness, but the doctor says that the specialist will come at 7 p.m. When the doctor comes in the evening, he has a chat with the woman who makes a deal to sell Akash's kidneys for many thousands. The rickshaw guy hears this and is not happy. They prepare for the operation, but Akash hears the doctor talk about an operation on the phone. He panics and tries to stop the operation, saying that he will pay them more money, and he can see the god tattoo the lady has on her arm. But they tranquilize him. Later, Akash gets up, but he's scared. The doctor and the others tell him that they have not extracted his organs. He begins spitting facts about their appearance and scares them, and tells them to do what he wants. As Akash is teaching Danny the piano, Simi gets there and tells her that he's leaving for London tomorrow, so he came to say goodbye. Simi asks him if she can drop him anywhere. As they are in the car, the rickshaw guy follows them. Akash then makes Simi unconscious using chloroform on his handkerchief. Pandey is at home with his wife, Rashmi, who gets a call from Akash, saying that her husband is cheating on her with Simi and demands $100,000 from them to keep the information silent and not go to the press. She is furious and tries to shoot him as he is in the washroom. But he gets a call from his inspector and puts it on speaker. The inspector tells him that they found Simi's car near the suicide point and they can't find her body. A news reporter reports about Simi's suicide. They kidnap Simi and keep her hostage. The doctor draws out some blood as well to scare her, as they are waiting for the money from Pandey. As Pandey is getting the money, suddenly the tables turn and the rickshaw guy ties up Akash and puts him in the room Simi is tied up in. The rickshaw guy tells Pandey to send the bag with the money in an elevator of a deserted building. He does that, but also storms up the stairs to catch the culprit. The guy sees him and runs away. Pandey shoots him and asks him for the evidence. The rickshaw guy says the lady in the basement has it, so Pandey takes the elevator to the basement, but the lady force stops the elevator and he's stuck in the elevator. Simi tells Akash that she will untie his hands and convinces him that he should untie her blindfold and not her hands so that she can help him, but she finds a scissor and unties her hands herself and they start fighting. The lady rushes the rickshaw guy to the hospital with the bag and the money on her. Simi is attacking Akash. Suddenly, the doctor gets there and Simi attacks the doctor, but Akash holds her and tries to stop her while the doctor tranquilizes her. The lady calls the doctor and tells him that the rickshaw guy has passed away. As the doctor and Akash are driving in the car, he tells Akash that he's got an offer for a liver transplant, which he will get $100 million for. From that money, he will give Akash $10 million. Akash asks him whose organ he's going to take. The doctor says Simi's, as he got to know that Simi's blood is a perfect match for his wealthy patient, who can fly them out of the country. Simi bangs the hood of the car she's locked in, and the doctor gets to know that she is conscious, so he stops the car and goes to tranquilize her again. But she attacks him and gets in the front to drive the car. Akash, thinking it's the doctor, says he wants to get off. So Simi stops the car and asks him to get off. Not sooner she goes ahead. She takes a U-turn and speeds towards Akash, trying to kill him. But a rabbit jumps on the car. She loses control and crashes. 2 years later, Akash is playing the piano at a bar in Europe. Sophie gets there. They go out for coffee. He narrates the story to her, and she tells him that he should have taken the doctor's offer and taken Simi's eyes. But he says he couldn't do that. But as Akash is walking away, we see him hit an object perfectly as though he is normal-sighted. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you'll like the video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to watch many more such cool recaps. Let me know in the comments below if you'll want more such thriller movies. And hit the bell icon too. Bye.